Okay, again, and you'll probably see this a lot in these videos. I want to show you that this 12 decibel per octave Japanese synthesizer is capable of a huge, exciting bass sound, because I think people have this sense that certain synthesizers, you know, because this isn't a Moog or whatever, it's going to be thin or whatever weird adjective that people come up with. And certainly it is capable of making some very thin sounds, which I'm also going to do because they have value. You don't want a big, fat, bassy Moog sound for all of your sounds. However, I do want to at least give you a sense that there are some great low-end opportunities that come out of this synthesizer. And I think I've done that with the last one I gave you. None of the Moogs have the opportunity of the high-pass filter with resonance that doesn't go into self-oscillation. Using these can give you just such a huge low end. You'll notice I have not done that in this case. I'm just letting it be the bass that it is, which is certainly enough. But there's kind of a trick I want to do with this, and I don't think enough people do this. In a way, it's kind of like faking an envelope that isn't there. And let me show you. Okay, here's the sound. Obviously very bassy. There's no equalization here. This is like just what this thing sounds like. It is a bass monster. And yet it's one of the least expensive analog synths from that time that you can buy. And I don't understand it at all. But anyway, that's a great sound just in general. You may notice that I actually need to do some key contact cleaning, and this is a little bit out of tune. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Do you care? We'll just leave it for now. Anyway, the point is there is the second oscillator has some modulation going on, and it's coming from VCF2. We have the LFO modulating the filter cutoff point in VCF2. Now, of course, it's giving us sort of this tremolo effect. There's also an envelope that is going to that particular oscillator output, that filter. One of the things I want to point out is that I've chosen the sawtooth for oscillator 1, and for oscillator 2 we have a square wave, which is brighter because of the filter cutoff settings, and also because of this tremolo effect that we're generating with the LFO, where the filter cutoff point is going up and down, creating a tremolo effect that's not happening over here in our amplifiers, which is where you typically apply a tremolo effect. But I did this because I wanted to point out, and people don't usually do this because everyone plays to a click track these days, or everyone's using a DAW, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's some opportunities that are missed when you have a periodic effect happening. And the way to realize this is to play in time with the LFO, play in time with the modulation effect, which would be something like this. So in doing that, as you can see, we're no longer talking about some tremolo effect at all. There's no sense that a tremolo effect is going on, but we do have a sense that there's like this, I guess, envelope effect that's happening, which is kind of already happening. But because of the way that the LFO is modulating the filter cutoff point of oscillator 2 and filter 2, we're getting these little bursts because we're basically playing in time with the LFO modulation, and it just sounds like these things are little envelope bursts, but we are also getting envelope bursts from the way that the keys are triggering the envelope that's affecting filter 2. So it's kind of a double interesting effect, but there are outcomes that you don't get if you just had the envelope happening, and that's what makes it kind of fun. Well, I mean, we can demonstrate that. As opposed to oh, it's not happening anymore. Oh, I turned the wrong thing. Whoops. That was down here. It just makes a more interesting sound, and we could switch our wave from the sine wave we were using to a saw wave. So there's kind of, number one, you get the sort of articulative thing that's going on, but also it gives it kind of a metric sound that might be associated with quantization, because it is kind of quantized. We're playing to this very metric rhythm that we're getting out of the LFO. I switched it to saw, and it gave us a different timbre to follow and create the same sort of outcome. So you have options. It will sound different if you use different LFO waves and then adjust your resonance and whatever. You'll get a different outcome. There's a number of ways you could do this. And then you could do what would be really cool is if we had two LFOs, and then you could set them to do two different times. So the LFO is affecting one VCF, say at double time that. But I mean, you could kind of generate some tricks in that direction, but we don't have the envelope. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to sort of share this thing, like make use of your LFO rhythmically to generate some interesting performance outcomes, so that you're not just using it to do a siren sound or a tremolo, if that makes sense. There are ways to do this. Of course, timing that LFO, if you're doing something that is sequenced, timing the LFO to your sequence might be a bit of a challenge, but you might be able to do it. Certainly with a modern synth, you'd be able to do it, but we have to embrace the joy of these completely analog circuits. And if the timing was slightly off, it might create a further expressive possibility if you were playing this along with something that was actually quantized. But it's something to keep in mind.